I'm going to do an insight video today. I feel like the energy shifting and consciousness is shifting on the planet in a lot of different ways. I was just sort of like connecting in as I was starting to walk back from dropping my wife off to work again this morning. And I was just getting into a space, and there's so much going on at the moment in like relation to sort of like source energy and sort of vibrations and frequencies that are sort of like manifesting, that are sort of like aligning on the planet at the moment. And there's a lot around sort of for me sort of like source energy is like the creation of all things, of all experiences, all realities at once. And in a sense, sort of like I feel like our energy, our consciousness is shifting in different ways. So as I was walking back from the sort of like the walk this morning, I felt like I was sitting there and I was thinking. So I was going through a few things in my mind. I was starting to sort of like not worry, but have those stresses and those general things in your head. And then again, I shifted into this sort of like into this source energy where it dissolved everything. It dissolved all of the worries, the doubts. But also, in a sense, it was strange because like the consciousness also sort of like connected and sort of like aligned in different ways. So what I mean by this is I felt like this creator sort of like this source energy, and that sort of aligned and harmonized me, and then it also sort of like dissolved things. But then it also sort of like shifted into like a creator sort of like aspect of source as well, where once I was in that state, then it was like I was able to then sort of like use my energy in a way to start to sort of like create and manifest, but also to shift my vibration. And in that sense, I was in a space then where I could sort of like send my energy out in a way to sort of like one sort of like to create reality. So when we're talking about the creator aspect or the creator consciousness, it creates reality, it shifts reality, and in that sense, it's you align with that energy, and then what you do is you start to sort of like shift your consciousness towards vibrations and frequencies of things that you want to attract, things you want to bring into your life, but also things um, that you want to create in a way that you want to create. And again, it's even looking at this vibration now, as we're talking about like the law of attraction, we're talking about law of manifestation. Well, when you're in this creator aspect of beingness, your consciousness shifts where you start to then see that you're not necessarily attracting things to you. What you're doing is you're creating them. You're creating a space, you're creating a vibration, you're creating a frequency where you actually start to shift and create your own reality in that sense. So the universe is, with the law of attraction, when you're vibrating at that and you're vibrating at that frequency, you're creating it. So you're not really looking for the law of attraction. It's for the fact that because you're vibrating at that frequency, of that high frequency and that high vibration. Then what you're doing is you're aligning with you like your source energy and your soul in that sense, that and your light and your energy. That what you're actually doing is you're creating it, and then what's happening is the universe is reflecting that. So in a sense, it's like we do a lot of work on like universal laws of attraction and manifestation, and like in a sense, like creation is like a different shift to that, and like the creator aspect is a different shift to that, because it's like this sense of when you go into it that you start to create your reality. But you also know, again, I keep talking about this, like the universal law of transmutation and transformation, and it talks about like shifting and changing things at will. And this is really really important because I think this really aligns with the like that creator aspect or that creation aspect of each being. I'm going to even go away. I'm not going to say creator. I'm going to say creation aspect, because that word sort of like resonates and it's got a bit of a different sort of vibration to me when I'm talking about it. So that creation aspect of being, that each of it, every one of us is a creator, but we're you know we can we can sort of access creation in that way. And in that sense, what we start to do is we start to vibrate in light and energy, and what we do is then we start to shift and change, and we start to create in that way. And when we start to do that, we're not really looking for the universe to manifest or attract. What we're doing is the universe is reflecting. The universe is reflecting and projecting what we're already vibrating. So in that sense, we become like, it's a bit like, sort of like, if you just see like a video camera where, where you're connected into your creation aspect, and then you're sort of like, you're creating your own movie, your own story, or your own sort of like, yeah, your own story, your own reality. So in that way, it's sort of like, it's quite a different kind of vibration than what we've experienced on the planet before. I also felt at this time, when I was in that source energy, in that creation aspect of self, of being, I also felt like it was like, so I was creating at the time, I was harmonizing, but I was also anchoring at the same time. And this is what I mean about this new sort of like multi-dimensional being and this source energy that's coming in. It's different in the way that you feel like your consciousness or your energy is working on multi sort of like levels, or facets at one time. And it's very different to what we've done before, because I think, in the sense, as we started to awaken as spiritual beings, what we've done is we've concentrated on one aspect of self, when there's infinite aspects of self. And this is where this multi-dimensional sort of beingness comes in. And again, it's like these layers, and we start to sort of see that we're vibrating and we're existing in many different realities at many different times. But also, our consciousness has the ability to vibrate, and do many different things at once. And as it starts to move out and expand, we start to see this more. And this will start to bring a different kind of reality in, because we start to see that the source energy, as this creative, as creation, exists and vibrates in many different ways at many different times, all at once, in one vibration. And we start to realize that as we start to move through this. So for me, that was quite interesting, because I felt like three things were going on at the same time. Like, I was anchoring in light, I was also harmonizing, connecting to source energy, and I was also creating at the same time. And all this was happening in the same moment, and my being was vibrating on the frequency of all these aspects at the same time. And that's what I mean. It's a little bit different to what I've experienced before, because usually on my spiritual journey, and it's also like, since yesterday, I mean, I've had like the diamond energy around me again today, which is, I think, is like I said about heaven on earth. But I think more and more I look at it, it's about the anchoring of this new vibration, these new energies that are coming in, and the diamond energy is very much around that. The diamond is very symbolic of like, has infinite faces, infinite facets. So I think it's a very sort of like a creative sort of energy in that way, and it would link into what I've been talking about today. But like yesterday, I was just like at work, and the last couple of days I've been very very much sort of directed to anchoring light and anchoring energy. But when I was doing it, like in some spaces yesterday, I was creating a sacred space, and when I was doing it, what was coming in was like, and I feel it again this morning, I feel it very very much so, energy balls were coming in, and it was like energy was filling the room, and it was filling the space. And as this was happening again, it was sort of then, as the energy came in and flowed into the spaces then became integrated and they became aligned. It was like there was no separation from like the spiritual realities, and like the spiritual realities of light and energy, uh, and the sort of like the physical spaces on the earth. And again, that's about it. That's about what we're doing here with the integration and bringing in these kind of energies. And I felt it again this morning, as I'm talking to you now. I feel very much so. I feel there's energy, healing energy is intensifying, because I feel like my minor chakras in my hands are absolutely buzzing with energy, and I feel like these got these massive balls of energy within my hands at the moment. And I felt that it's in my heart, and it was also, I felt like there was like a circle or a sphere energy, sphere of energy around me, as I was actually sort of like walking, walking back from sort of like taking my wife today. So there's again a shift in energy, and the more I go into this energy, the more it vibrates, and the more that these balls of energy, I feel like, are just building, and they're building energy frequencies and energy fields, and energy on the planet. And I feel like this is like a different kind of a sense of being again. I've always used energy at work. I always use consciousness. I always ask for lights and angels and guides and beings, and I always ask for those to come in and support, and bring them into my working sort of environment, and obviously I'm vibrating on that level and trying to bring it in. I ask for this for others that I work with, colleagues and stuff like that as well. But it's just, again, it's a different shift, and I think this is what's going on at the moment. And I think a lot of us need to start to realize is that we're anchoring in different energies, and as this is going on, things are shifting and changing, and it's about us starting to recognize these shifts and these changes because they're very subtle. But as the more we become aligned, the more we become activated to our light bodies and our light energy, and we become activated to this source energy, we will start to see the source, and us as source beings. We can create and manifest in many different ways, but we can also, like we said, we're multidimensional, we're multifaceted, that we can vibrate in different ways and vibrate with different vibrations and frequencies at once. We don't just harmonize and hold one frequency, we hold infinite frequencies. As I sit there and talk about this, I'm now seeing like many different colors. I've just seen a rainbow, and a rainbow to me, like mountains, and the rainbows are like symbolic of, like, there's no limitations. The awareness, the awakening there. There's an infinite shift in awareness. But I also sort of, I'm seeing colors like within my minds, within my body, and within my sort of like my frequency, and obviously this is again aligned to different sort of like gold, and like these very sort of like vibrant sort of pinks and purples and stuff like that. Our colours are coming in, and very like light blues coming in as well. And like I felt for a long time, I mean like ascended masters and master guys, and beings of light, and the terrestrials and that. There's many different frequencies, and always seen frequencies in colours and energy as well. I usually see them like, or have an impression, and I see them like in inner sight. For me, it's like a lot of the stuff that we knew about, sort of like, we talk about ascending masters, we talk about masters and guides, and we archangels, and we talk about sort of like specific colours relating to these specific guides, but they shift and change as the frequencies and colours shift and change on the planet. So do the like the colours, and the vibrations. So in that sense, a lot of the stuff that we sort of like look at, with guides, angels, and masters, these things are shifting, and as we shift and change, colours will shift, vibrations will shift, our clairvoyance will shift of how we see things. And in that sense, it's about going with what you feel, because all these things that what we're going to be careful about at this time and at this moment on this planet is not to become too like rigid in what we believe, and strict in what we believe, and attach too much to sort of like what color belongs to what master, and what it's more about what you feel and sense, because as the vibrations shift and the planet shifts and the energy lines and the ley lines and the energy grids shift on the planet, we will see different, we will see the colors and the energies in different ways, and it's about going with it, and it's about listening, and connecting to your source and your soul, and sort of like interpreting interpreting those colors, those frequencies, in your way, in what makes sense to you. It's very, very important that we don't sort of remain very rigid and attached, because I think this is one of the biggest shifts that are coming, is that we need to let go of a lot of what we already know, for this new kind of sort of like source energy to start to manifest, and it will mean shifting and releasing to allow like the new to flow in, and we're going to need a lot of that as we start to go through this year, because I feel like there's big shifts coming, and a lot of it's around us just starting to really sort of recognize that and start to align and harmonize with that. Well, that's the insight for today anyway. Yeah, just work on yourself, work on yourself and your own channel, your own vibration, your own frequency, and see how it aligns, see what things you're picking up, because this time is very much around aligning with the planet and aligning with each other collectively. We're a collective, and we're here to shift our awareness and shift our consciousness and expand and start to anchor in these new energies. But each and every one of us, when we anchor in these new energies, will also awaken our own peace, our own, our own aspect of soul that's needed for the planet this time. And this is why it's important to anchor it in and to do the work and integrate at the moment, because then it will awaken our own peace, that we can start to then sort of like work and shift and help with the planet. So check out my Facebook page. Again, spiritual awareness and insight. Um, and also sort of like, subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear a few comments and questions, because I feel that's really how we truly connect, is when we start to create these little communities and these little sort of conversations uh, on these channels, and then we can start to then build the energy for the planet and for each other.